Mike's Daily Podcast
1440, episode 1440, and it's Mike Matthews broadcasting from Cafe Anyway, located somewhere in Podcastro Valley, Mont. Today, it's the wonderful, Benita, the disgruntled fiddle player, the brewmaster. We'll get to an exciting news segment. Today, I think we will get to Live and Loco.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Because I feel like that's what we are, is a little loco today. After all the craziness.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
With Hurricane Irma, can we do a little Monday morning quarterbacking with all this stuff? And the storm was attacking our wonderful coastline of Florida. And people, that's all they saw. And they were like, duh, I'm done. I'm done with all this news about
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Irma. For God's sake, shut up about Irma. We've been Irmaized, haven't we?
Mike's
That's what I surmise.
Daily
Okay, well,
Podcast.
now,
Yeah!
I also yesterday tried to walk my dog, the wonderful Basil the Boxer, and I went to the Bay Area, to the area closest to the Bay is what I should say, as close as I could, because I thought, hey, it'll be cooler down there, near the water's edge. Look, I just walked in. Was it? No, like half a degree cooler. It was so hot yesterday. It got hot, like, I don't know how I didn't see that coming. So I was freaking mad about that. Look who it is. Hi, Mike. It's Benita the Rodeo Queen. How you doing?
That's a disgruntled fiddle player, tell you what.
What?
Look who else walked in.
Hello, Mike. I make the delicious root beer. Have some brewmaster root beer. Oh, boy.
It's the brewmaster, everyone.
Yeah.
Last show, I was discussing how in Podcastro Valley we have a fall festival. And the one that I went to this past weekend, very interesting. Got to see Haley there, Becca, Sylvia. Oh, and Sylvia, she was so nice. She drove me home because I'd walked there from my house. And she drove Basil the Boxer and I home. And it was so nice of her because
And here's today's podcast picture.
I told her, hey, I could put Basil on my lap. And she's like, okay. So I put Basil on my lap. Oh, he didn't fit on my lap. I forgot. He doesn't fit on my lap. He's not really a lap dog. So he's like sitting there like squirming, he doesn't know what's going on. He's all confused. And she doesn't know what's going on because she's trying to drive. And here's this big dog right next to her. So kudos to her. She was awesome for putting up with that. Yay. He's not a lap dog. Sorry, Basil. But the podcast picture is of me and Basil the Boxer there at some place with lots of grass growing. Speaking of grass, boy, the Bay Area, there's just way too much pot being consumed here. If you are a cannabis grower, my God, you need to... This should be your only market you're selling to. Although I talked to my mom yesterday in Florida as she was getting prepared for Irma, and
Hurricane Irma! It's going to knock down everything! Run for your life! It's blowing me over! Rain!
good God, just overkill. Too much Irma overkill, my God, this weekend. Chill the freak out. And people were strange at the fall festival, I must tell you, because, you know, when you bring your boxer or any dog to the fall festival, people come up to you and start showing you pictures of their dog, and and you're like, oh, that's nice, thanks. But wait, here's more pictures. There was a lot of that going on. A lot of interesting folk. That wonderful lady that said, how old's your dog? Well, he's 9. He's not that old. Yeah, he's old. He's old. And that kind of fun stuff. So, well, At any rate, hot day yesterday, and I have to tell you, I hope it cools down because I'm getting sick of the hot days. I'm actually happy that I have a part-time job where I'm in air conditioning, because there is no air conditioning at all in Castro Valley. Just want you to know, you're not allowed to put air conditioning in your house. It's just against the rules, so we just sweat and it's hot. That's about it. MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com. It's true. Look it up. Look it up at the Facebook site for Castro Valley. It's like called castrovalley.word, our Facebook page, which is hugely popular. And I stopped following it because it went negative on dogs one time. And I said, that's it. It was saying things about dog owners and stuff that I was just... And people were chiming in. It's very divisive here in the Bay Area. You got people that like dogs and people that hate them. And then there's nobody in between. Nobody at all. It's one or the other. MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com is where you can see pictures like the one I have with basil and grass, and but it's the kind that grows out of the ground that's not then put into a smoking device of some sort. It is just regular grass that cows like to chomp away on and turn into cud. Kudzu? No. But I will be seeing a lot of kudzu at the end of this week since I will be in Florida, and there's some that grows there. Mostly in Georgia, though, but Alabama. MIKEsDailyPodcast.com is where you can see past podcast pictures. I even have a couple pictures of possibly Georgia, Alabama, Florida, California. It's a very American podcast. Oh, we have some pictures of Germany as well up on the website. So see those podcast pictures. You can help out the show through the Amazon link. Whatever you're going to buy on Amazon, click on that link first at MIKEsDailyPodcast.com and buy whatever it is you're going to buy, and that helps us out. There's also the PayPal if you'd like to help us out that way. You'll get a special greeting from all the Cafe Anyway characters. And you'll become an inglorious Mike's Daily Podcaster. All at MIKEsDailyPodcast.com. All right, now the segment called...
Live and Loco.
I don't know what that's for.
Well, you've heard about Irma, and it's lashing at the Florida shores. It has weakened to a tropical storm as it moves towards southern Georgia. The winds decreased to 70 miles per hour. I watched the Weather Channel, and I have to tell you, Monday morning quarterbacking, and I think the media went completely overboard on Irma. But of course, we didn't know. But the media just overhypes it and makes it as dramatic as possible, so you'll watch. And I did watch. I watched the Weather Channel all day yesterday when I was at work, and it was these guys standing out there. Michael B. Bevins or something like that. Beals. He stood out there for an hour. They were talking to him nonstop live. He was in Naples, I think, and he was getting blown all over the place. Basically, I don't know how. It looked like they were just in a truck. That's how they were. But the wind was just coming right. I don't know how it didn't blow their truck over. The guy kept looking like he was going to fall down, and I kept watching. I couldn't turn my eyes away. And that's how the Weather Channel stays in business, is because of idiots like me watching that. But the U.S. National Hurricane Center says it's expected to weaken to a tropical depression by tomorrow afternoon. Irma is centered about 105 miles northwest of Tampa. This was just about 40 minutes ago. Is moving northwest about 18 miles per hour. That's how fast they move. Irma hit southern Florida on Sunday as a Category 4 hurricane, bringing roof-ripping winds, pushing floodwaters, and widespread power outages. Brackets P. What does the bracket P do? That's a paragraph, right. Somebody was writing in code when they were writing this article on the AP. It's continuing its slog along Florida's western coast. That's why I'm still going to Florida at the end of this week, is it somehow, thankfully, mercifully, didn't hit the East Coast where my mom lives, where I'm going this weekend. But lost power happened. People lost power, 3.3 million homes and businesses. A deputy and a paramedic were trapped for 2 hours until a crew could free them, but both were unhurt. Gleaming through this article, I think we got lucky. Very much so. No deaths in Florida were immediately linked to the storm. In the Caribbean, there were at least 24. And it seemed to be much stronger at that point when it hit the Caribbean. What is it? Richard Branson's island. Doesn't Johnny Depp have an island? I don't know if it's in that area. During the hurricane, Nextdoor became, along with Facebook, became digital lifelines during the hurricane. Nextdoor, I found out about that only a year ago. And I went on there a couple of times because it was the only way to find out about this interesting dog story that was unfolding around where I live. There's this park called Coal Canyon. And apparently there was a pit bull that had a rope tied around her neck that was running around Coal Canyon, and people couldn't catch her because as soon as you got close to her, she'd run away. And it took about 6 months. Since they first saw her around October, they called her Pumpkin. And she was in the one of the park's bathrooms. She would sleep in there at night. And finally, one day, somebody walked in from animal control, just put a leash around her and walked out, and she didn't resist or anything. It was like she said, okay, I'm done. Since then, she has been defleed, deticked. Her health has gotten back up to normal, and she has a good home. So that was a great story that I heard all about on Nextdoor. But some 16,000 miles from Houston, in West Milford, New Jersey. Let's see. Nikki Arata woke up to urgent pleas for help on Facebook from friends trapped in their ranch home by Hurricane Harvey. They had stripped down to bathing suits as the mucky water climbed dangerously higher, from 1 inch at 1 a.m. to over 6 feet at 8 a.m. Help couldn't come soon enough. And this is the longest freaking article. Apparently, she used Nextdoor and Facebook to help them out. That's a wonderful story. Finally, Bannon, former White House strategist Stephen K. Bannon, believes the firing of FBI Director James Comey by President Trump was the biggest mistake maybe in modern history. And Comey said,
"It makes me mildly nauseous."
Bannon made the statement during an online segment of his interview with 60 Minutes broadcast Sunday. The statement was extraordinary, considering all the political mistakes made in modern history, including but not limited to the Watergate cover-up by President Richard Nixon and the related Saturday Night Massacre, the Iran-Contra affair during the administration of Ronald Reagan, and Bill Clinton's dalliance with Monica Lewinsky. I don't think there's any doubt that if James Comey had not been fired, he said to Charlie Rose, we would not have a special counsel. We would not have the Mueller investigation in the breadth that clearly Mr. Mueller is going. Talking about Robert Mueller's appointment to investigate any possible connection between Trump or his campaign with Russian meddling in the 2016 presidential election. Bannon's comments supplemented a broader on-air 60 Minutes interview, which also included some eye-opening claims, such as Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan. You know Paul Ryan. He said the following. Oh, I can't find it now. Oh. Okay. I'll find it later. Oh, here it is.
I think part of what is happening, I think Democrats are letting their hair on fire to get you to cover this story, to try and keep repeating the same story.
All right. That's what he said. It came as Rose pressed him on the Comey firing, telling the former Trump advisor that he had heard that Bannon had declared the firing the worst mistake in political history. Bannon described that as too bombastic an assertion, narrowing it to modern political history. As we go outside a cafe anyway, where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcaster Valley. We had fun. Benita sure said a lot. Thanks for saying so much, Benita.
You're welcome. I'm going back inside. Bye. Bye. This is a great show.
And thank you to the Brewmaster and the Disgruntled Fiddle Player. Next show, Madame Rutabaga Valentino and Bison Bentley. Enjoy the beginning of your week. Many more podcasts to come. Possibly cooler days. Possibly better weather for you, wherever you are, hopefully. That sounds like a plan.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com. Email Mike now at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!